everybody, welcome back to the Smarketing CONNECT podcast. I am your host, Tom Libby, one of the co-founders here at Smarketing CONNECT. And today I brought back Adam for one of my favorite segments of our podcast, which is live action case studies. So essentially we take the case studies that we typically write and we see on websites all the time and blog posts and all that kind of stuff, and we just talk about them. I find it sometimes it's easier just to listen to a podcast version of this than trying to go read these things. So before we jump into that, I'm just going to ask Adam to give us, his 30-second elevator spiel here about, Adam, reminding everybody kind of who you are and what you do. I'm fumbling today. I don't know what's going on, but so let's just remind everybody who you are and what you do.
Yeah, Adam Torkidson, based out of Utah. I founded a company a decade ago called Tork Media. Very creative name, I know, based on my last name. But that was my nickname in high school, was Tork. And we own and operate a network of websites that agencies that usually do SEO and PR are our best clients for that.
Awesome. I know there's a million things. I thought the name was brilliant, by the way, because I thought there's a lot of play on words you could have really challenged yourself with with the name of your company, and it kind of played with it a little, but we could talk about that another time. So Adam, so what we're here for today, right? Case studies. I'm sure that you have a scenario where you can tell us about a client who had a major problem, how you solved that problem, and then the results that came about it. So I'll stop talking and give you the floor, but can you walk us through one of these types of situations for us?
Yeah, I want to use this one particular case study for two reasons. One is to name drop, but two is to show that I am still learning things about how the internet works, even though I've been living in it and making money from it for 15 years. So Tony Robbins is the client in this particular case. And I'm a huge fan of his work, for one thing. And that's why I have this sign behind me. It says mindset is everything. And I try and live that every single day. So Tony, I've been a huge fan of, and we were able to start working with him through a connection. And it was just a one-off sort of opportunity. He didn't sign us to a big, long engagement or anything. But my friend that introduced us is a journalist. He was writing for Inc. magazine at the time. And he had used several of my sites to publish thought leadership articles under his pen name. And that's what some people use my sites for as well. My sites get picked up in Google News and they're somewhat authoritative and they get traffic. And so my friend had used my sites and he suggested Tony use my sites. And Tony's marketing team analyzed all my sites, looked at the metrics and the traffic, and decided, yeah, it would be worth our time to work with this guy, see what he can do. And they were specifically writing content and publishing it on sites to promote one of Tony's YouTube videos. And at the time, this was about 4 years ago, I did not know that embedding YouTube videos in my sites would have an impact on their traffic and views on those videos. But what I learned through working with Tony was that if someone writes unique content and embeds one specific YouTube video within that content and publishes that content on one of my sites, I can generate about 1 million views on that video. I've replicated this.
Wow.
And it's not because my sites are inherently awesome beyond anybody else. It's just one of the ways that I monetize my sites is through something called arbitrage. And this has been around for a really long time, this principle of buying low, selling slightly higher, and making a slim margin. So the principle in the internet is you buy traffic in bulk, and you get it for about a penny per click. And then you point it to pages on your sites that you control that have ads on them. And you make about 1.2 pennies in gross profit. So your margin is 0.2 pennies. Multiply that times 1,000,000 because that's how much volume you're buying, and your profits start to add up. So I'm doing that on all my sites all the time. And I didn't tell Tony's team that. We just sort of noticed that the sites where I was doing that sort of traffic arbitrage were the sites that made those YouTube videos sort of explode in views. And so his team was happy that the video that they were promoting hit the 1,000,000 view mark, because that was their internal goal. They just never told me about it.
Awesome.
And so we accidentally made that happen. And I learned that I still don't know how this works, because I'm not sending traffic directly to those pages where the videos are embedded. So I really don't know how all these things tie together. And that's one of the cool things about why I like working in this field, is that when you start trying things and you have the ability to control things at scale, you can try all sorts of things. When I was a kid, I wanted to be a scientist. And so I feel like I've sort of fulfilled that childhood dream, just not at all in the way I thought I would.
Mm. It's more like a data scientist than a scientist, but hey, science is
Right.
science, honestly.
Yeah, experiment, test, prove.
Yeah. So I guess maybe one follow-up question if you don't mind, but so that seems to me almost like one of those too good to be true things, right? Like Tony Robbins comes to you and you knock the leather off the ball for him, and now you can say this forever. But so did they, when they asked you about, and they didn't tell you that their goal was 1,000,000, right? But
No.
so did you end up, was that 1,000,000 spread out over the course of several sites, or did you have like one site that really just produced 1,000,000 views for that YouTube video?
It was spread out over about 25 particular sites, and I do know which ones those are now. I didn't.
That's okay. So that's awesome. But still 1,000,000 views over 25 sites. That's an amazing number. But so, and when that's also, I would imagine, or the question really is, so when you're embedded the YouTube video, it's not a native video, right? It's playing on the YouTube player. So that's driving people. Okay. Driving people by. I just wanted to make sure I understood the version of this. That's awesome. Awesome. That's super exciting. And, like I said, once you got a name like Tony Robbins under your belt, I mean, that's just like the skies. I don't even know where you go from there, to be honest with you, because I'm kind of a Tony Robbins fan myself. So I don't know if there's any way to top that, Adam. I think you've hit the pinnacle of your career at this point for me. So I had the opportunity to meet Damon John early up in my entrepreneurial start. And I would definitely not say I know him. That's not the point. But just meeting him and having that brief interaction that I was able to ask him a handful of questions, like rapid fire, it was hugely impactful to me. And so I think people like him, like Tony Robbins, if somebody has an opportunity to interact with one of these guys, believe me, it's worth your time. You have to talk to these guys, especially if you want to get to that next level. So
Agreed.
Well, Adam, thank you very much. Again, I appreciate it. This has been awesome. I seem to learn something every time I talk to you. So if I come up with another version of the podcast, I'll probably have you back on to go over whatever next iteration I come up with in my head. So I appreciate it very much. Thank you.
Yeah, and thank you so much for the opportunity. It's been fun.
Appreciate it. And thank you guys for watching, and keep selling.